All right, joining me now is Michael Reagan. Many of you know who he is, obviously. He's also not only a former syndicated talk show host, he also is an author, a New York Times bestselling author. He's a syndicated columnist each week. He has a column that comes out. I think it may be more than once a week, but I know it's at least once a week. And he joins us now. Michael, welcome. Thank you for being with us. We just went a little long with Judge Joe Brown. Sorry about that. Thank you for making time for us tonight.
Good to be with you on a bad day, just like I just tweeted. You know, the glass house, the city on a hill, the windows are broken. They're absolutely broken. In 3.5 years, Joe Biden and his goons have absolutely destroyed the United States of America and what we stand for. We are now no different than Putin. This is what Putin does. I mean, where are we different? And I am saddened today and in tears with what's happened to the United States of America today. Joe Brown may say, let's get it back. Where? When? Who? We just blew it up. We blew it up.
Do you think we can recover? I mean, are we at a tipping point? Or have we just tipped over? Is it no coming back?
Not in my lifetime. Not in your lifetime. How do you bring it back? Because now you're going to play tit for tat? Because now you go after the person, not the crime? You create crimes? This is what Putin does. What they do in Venezuela. This is what they do in third world countries. We just did that. How's it going to come back? Who's going to bring it back? I'm going to vote for Trump. But he'll be a 4-year guy. That's it. If we don't control the Senate, you're toast. Are you going to trust the next election to be honest and fair? Really? Really? You trust to be honest and fair?
If you're asking me, I don't. I don't trust it to be fair.
There you go.
I think that it's already being set up. I personally think the way they're behaving, Mike, is the way people behave that don't fear the voters or an election. So to me, they've already got something planned.
Well, listen, already planned. Look when the sentencing is, 4 days before the convention.
That's right.
The sentencing. I mean, you know the plan. But they're getting away with it. Is it just because you hate Trump? Trump derangement syndrome? I hate Trump, so therefore I'm willing to destroy the absolute structure of the United States of America? I'm willing to turn the justice system completely upside down? What do we stand for? Just tell me what we stand for. We don't stand for anything. We really don't. Where are we different than Putin? Where are we different than Venezuela? Where are we different than any third world country that does this to their leaders? Where are we different? And nobody can tell you we are. We're not different. We're now the same. Why look at the shiny city on the hill? Because all the windows are broken. They're all gone.
Mike,
who's back?
How does this play out now with other, say, Soros or progressive, Marxist, socialist, statist district attorneys and prosecutors around the country? Now that this pattern is being set, do we watch and see where maybe some district attorney doesn't like something a pastor says from the pulpit about the LGBTQ agenda? Is it what some conservative talk show host, as you were syndicated for so many years? I mean, up in Michigan, they were looking at legislation that actually passed the House in Michigan, was moving into the Senate. I don't know where it's at now. But we had a guy on who was an attorney running for attorney general in Michigan last year who said, this is the worst piece of legislation I've ever read. And the legislation that passed the House in Michigan said that if you hurt the feelings of a sexual minority, you could be criminally prosecuted, civilly prosecuted, forced to re-education. So I guess what I'm asking is, if you can do this at the highest level, how long before the average American out here says the wrong thing on social media, the wrong thing to someone, before they find themselves being politically prosecuted where there is no crime, but one is invented?
The door was open today. The door was open to have the Braggs of the world go after their enemies. And their enemies are you. You're the enemy. I write columns and stuff. Yes, I do. But you're the enemy because you're on TV. You're on radio. You're saying things that are true. And they don't want you to tell these things that are true. So they'll come after you and they'll come after other people. They'll come after conservatives. They'll come over after people who are speaking out. God forbid you speak out about the transgenders and what they're doing to women's sports. Look what this administration is allowing to happen to Title IX of women's sports. And what's the cost? What price do they pay? They're paying nothing. Nothing.
Michael, I was watching on one of my shows earlier today. I do a financial show, and I was having, our mutual friend.
I understand.
What's that?
You sleep in that suit. I know that.
That's right.
The question is, are you wearing pants?
Yeah, I am. I am definitely wearing pants. Sometimes shorts, but I'm wearing khakis today. I had on some of the guys over at Swiss America, who I met through you, honestly. I met Dean through, Craig through you, and now Dean. And I was interviewing some of those guys on the finances. And we were playing clips of your father. And your father was running for president. We played a clip that was February 1st, 1980. It was a commercial he was making as president on getting back to the gold standard, backing our dollar with something. And then, of course, we played literally a year later, February 5th, a year later, 81, he was giving an address to the nation on our current financial status. And as we played these clips and watched it, it's so ironic that we did that this morning, because we contrast your father and what the Republicans and the Democrats, how they dealt with each other to what's going on today. Your father and Tip O'Neill, Speaker of the House, Democrat, they didn't agree on many things at all, but they would have never treated each other this way, would they have?
No, they have respect. I disagree with you, you disagree with me, but at 5 o'clock we're having cocktails. That's what we're doing. There is great respect. We had leaders in the House, leaders that said, the Hubert Humphreys of the world, those kind of people were great. The orators, the debate was unbelievable. Whether you agree or disagree, but the debate was wonderful. At the end of the debate, the end of the day, we're all friends. Let's go to Capitol Hill. Let's have dinner together. Let's have a cocktail. Not that way today. And I don't think the Republicans, maybe they finally woke up today. We're at war. We're at war. And the Democrats have been joined in this war for a long time. And we just sit back thinking, like my sister told me back in 1965, Merm, what is the difference between a Democrat and a Republican? Real easy, Michael. Democrats go to bed every night hoping you never figure it out. Republicans go to bed every night hoping someday you do.
Michael, you mentioned your children. I've got children. You have grandchildren. I have grandchildren coming. What? Yeah, I know. Yes, it's true. What do we do? Because you're saying in my lifetime, in your lifetime, it takes a whole new perspective when you have kids and grandkids, doesn't it, Michael?
It takes a whole new perspective, and it's my son Cameron's birthday today, by the way.
Happy birthday, Cameron.
Who you know. Yep. And it's sad. This guy is 8-year-old, and 6-year-old, and his 1.5-year-old boy, Gage. And it's going to be half that generation. But the problem is you've got to educate that generation. Like I've been promoting my brick project up in Normandy for the last week, where you can buy a brick at ReaganLegacyFoundation.org and put it in the ground, honoring somebody who fought in the Second World War, European theater. And we've been doing that. And I remember playing golf with a young man a few years ago. I was invited to go to Normandy to raise the American flag at the American Cemetery in Normandy. And I was telling this 25-year-old kid I was playing golf with that I was headed to Normandy and why. And he looked at me and said, why is there an American cemetery at Normandy? I had no concept. And I will tell you this, if you ran a survey through the school system today, Brannon, and asked those kids, I'll bet you 80, 90% of the kids don't know why D-Day even exists. Why there's D-Day, what does that mean? They probably think it's a report card. But the reality of it is D-Day. And we don't educate. And we've let the left take over the school system. You and I have talked about that forever. That's how you and I got involved.
That's right.
There's no education. So these kids have no background about America, who we are. No concept. And it's going to be that generation that's going to have to save us. But in order to save us, they have to be educated on who we are, and nobody's educating them. My dad educated me. You educated your kids, but who's going to educate those kids? And that's what's really sad. That's what I say. This generation, I do a lot of work with the Ranch and Young Americans Foundation. It's a great organization. There's 200 high school kids coming in, June 19th I'll speak to. We do everything we can. But again, look at the fight that's going on high school, college, and middle school campuses. When a conservative shows up, they try to ban them.
Not to mention, of course, Mike, as we get ready to wrap here, because I know you got a busy schedule, but also what's happening with our Jewish students, right? I mean, being accosted, assaulted. It's heartbreaking to think that, Judge Joe Brown, he's a Black American. He kept saying, he said like 3 times, I can't believe we're still here at this spot. I thought we'd gotten past all this, but we aren't. We're targeting people. We specifically, politically, judicially target people. And now we have Jewish students being confronted and targeted and threatened. I mean, all of this, Mike, it's a convergence of things happening all at one time that for guys like you and I that have, and many of the people watching, have a long view because we've been here long enough, I don't think the young people understand how we feel because we're seeing it through a longer lens, but we're also seeing it through a longer lens that has them at the end of our eyesight. And it's amazing the convergence of things. We're on the verge of World War III. We're targeting into Russia, into the systems of Putin. It seems as NATO is content on going to war. They're telling the people in Europe, you might get conscripted. You might be called up. I mean, this is our world, not to mention the country, but it seems as the world is falling apart right in front of us.
Yeah, the only winner in war is the military-industrial complex. And I guess they want to test out their new weapons that they've been building because they've been sending the old weapons to Ukraine. And then that story that came out earlier today or yesterday about maybe giving them permission to start bombing in
right.
Russia. And you're going like, well, where do you think that's going to lead?
Right.
Where's that going to lead? I mean, how many presidents said, we're never going to put boots on the ground in a foreign country? We're done. Well, Vietnam, how'd that work out? Afghanistan, how did that work out? Iraq, how'd that work out? And now you see this coming out of the White House and out of Washington about giving permission to Ukraine to start bombing, in Russia. Look, 3.5 years. 3.5 years. Look what the hell's happening. And if he is reelected for another 4 years, what can happen then? Because he'll double down. He'll think, oh my God, they love me. I am worried about America. I'm worried about my children, my grandchildren. And I don't know how you fix the broken glass on the city on the hill my father spoke so highly of as he walked out the door at Washington, D.C. and saluted.
Well, his farewell address, as you well know, I've watched it a gazillion times and watched it again last week. He called on Americans to be involved in an informed patriotism. And of course, today we know they take the knee. Being patriotic is now considered racist. Being masculine, like many of the people you grew up around in Hollywood. You grew up, I know your stories, you grew up with the children of a lot of these people. You knew them, Glenn Ford and your friend Peter Ford and all of these people that we looked at as, Jimmy Stewart and John Wayne and all these people we looked at and thought that was the epitome of an American male, a masculine American male. And then, of course, comes along Ronald Reagan, a strong leader. When we're all told now these people were suffering from toxic masculinity, a psychological problem. But your dad nailed it in the farewell address. He said, I'm very concerned about the future of our country if we don't have an informed patriotism. And maybe young parents today think that's not in vogue anymore. But we had better teach an informed patriotism to our children. You want to close on that?
Coming up on next week on the 5th is the 20th anniversary of my dad's passing. There's going to be big events at the library. And then, of course, June 6th is the 40th anniversary of my dad's speech at Pointe du Hoc at Normandy, France. First president to speak at Normandy, France on D-Day. And of course, it's the 80th anniversary of D-Day. we need to educate our children. And thank goodness for groups like Young Americans Foundation, others, and you, and that are out there trying to educate the kids, because if we don't educate them, that city on a hill doesn't get rebuilt.
Well, there it is right there. ReaganLegacyFoundation.org. This is the organization Mike runs, advancing the causes President Reagan held dear and memorializing the accomplishments of his presidency. He's doing a lot of things to try to educate kids. You can look here and click on the different projects, the things he's involved in, trying to pass on that informed patriotism, the proper worldview, proper function of government, liberty, freedom. There it is, ReaganLegacyFoundation.org. I'll also just take you real quick to his X account if you want to follow him, at Reagan World. That's where he is constantly putting out tweets. He also puts out tweets about his weekly column. You'll find that, all of it at Reagan World. But again, I want to draw you back here on this one right here, the Reagan Legacy Foundation. Mike's doing some great work there, pouring his life into young people so we can have some of these leaders that can help rebuild and repair the windows that have just gotten broken out on the city on a hill tonight. Very well said tonight, Michael.
Thank you, my friend. God bless.
You too. Mike Reagan checking in. Sobering interview there, folks, and well, it should be. It is. I know a lot of Americans tonight probably have very heavy hearts. I think some are probably shedding tears. They never thought they'd see our nation go this low, that politics would become so, a blood sport, really. I think that was a word used several years ago, and indeed it seems to have become just that. Something is in the wind, my friends. I don't know what, but something is in the wind. There's an awful lot of distractions and a lot of division, and we are surrounded by America's enemies right here on our soil. We know that, many of them military-age males. We also know that this government at the federal level seems to be wholly captured by the red-green axis, the Marxist and the Islamist. It is hard to believe, but earlier today, I actually reported on the fact that we had the FBI director, there it is, by my friend Daniel Greenfield, a Jewish gentleman that I interview often. FBI director met with Hamas supporters asking him to lock up Jews. Something's in the wind. I don't know what it is, but today's travesty out of New York certainly has just weakened our nation and brought it to a whole new level that is going to make it more and more difficult to move forward with here, as we all seek to stay within the confines of the rule of law, the law of nature, and nature's God. But my friends, we are at a tipping point, and maybe we've already tipped over. I don't know. Michael Reagan, son of Ronald Reagan tonight, saying he does not see America returning to being the city on a hill in your lifetime, my lifetime, his lifetime, that the windows are broken out. How can you repair it? That's what he kept asking. How, who, and how? These are sobering questions, my friends. We are the longest running constitutional republic in the history of the world. But the things we're seeing now are exactly how republics fall. I don't know what the future holds. I'll tell you this right now. If I wasn't a Christian, I don't think I'd have the strength to lift my head up off the pillow every morning, come to this news desk and do it again and again. It gets very emotionally wearing on all of us, not just your host, but on you as well, I know. So, sobering words tonight from a walking piece of history right there. Michael Reagan, who was on the front row to watch so much of, the greatest hours of America during his father's 8 years in the White House. And to see and hear his perspective tonight is indeed very sobering. We'll be right back after this break.